I tasted copper before I felt pain. The ceiling of the ambulance rattled above me. Fluorescent light stuttering as the vehicle lurched through traffic. Someone was pressing gauze to my forehead. Someone else kept saying my name like it was a rope they were afraid to let go of. My phone was slick in my hand. I don't remember unlocking it, I just remember my mother's voice answering on the second ring. "Mom," I said, my mouth didn't shape the word right. "I've been hit. I'm in an ambulance. Can you watch the baby?" There was a pause, not shock, not panic, a pause like she was checking a calendar. "Oh," she said. "We already left. We're on vacation with your sister. Don't wait for us." The line went dead. The EMT glanced at me, eyebrows lifting, waiting for a reaction. I stared at the ceiling again, watching the lights blur. Somewhere between the siren and my pulse, something inside me slipped quietly into place. Not rage, not grief, clarity. The caregiver arrived 3 hours later, while I was still strapped to a hospital bed, my arm immobilized, my ribs screaming every time I breathed. I hired her from the ER using my phone, thumb trembling, mind razor sharp. She was calm, certified, expensive. I gave her my address, the baby's routine, the alarm code. I sent the money before I could second guess myself. When you grow up being the responsible one, logistics become your native language. My parents had taught me that. Or maybe I'd taught myself, watching how chaos always landed in my lap while everyone else floated. They used to say I was strong. What they meant was convenient. I was the one who stayed local while my sister chased her life across time zones. I was the one who covered bills when my parents' small business dipped. I was the one who managed the trust my grandfather left money earmarked to support family stability. I paid the property taxes, the medical copays, the quiet debts they never talked about but always expected me to solve. Gratitude had slowly curdled into assumption. By the time I had my baby, 2 months old, still smelling like milk and sleep, my parents spoke to me like a service provider. Calls came with instructions, not questions. My sister posted beach photos while my mother texted me reminders to transfer funds. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself family was family. Then came the drunk driver. Then came the phone call. Then came the silence after. The trigger wasn't just that my mother said no, it was how easily she said it, no hesitation. No scramble. No, we'll turn around. Just an update. A scheduling conflict. As if my emergency was an inconvenience they could reschedule, lying in that hospital bed, listening to monitors beep. I realized something with absolute certainty. If I died that night, they would have continued the vacation. That thought didn't hurt. It cooled me. Silence is underrated. I didn't text them updates. I didn't post photos. I didn't ask for help. While nurses adjusted IV lines and doctors talked about concussions and internal bruising, I logged into the trust account from my phone. Everything I did was legal. Documented. Authorized. The trust named me sole administrator. Disbursements were at my discretion for the welfare of the beneficiary household. I was a beneficiary. So was my child. I transferred funds. I closed automatic payments. I redirected future disbursements into a newly created account labeled with my son's name. College, medical, emergency, stability. I didn't empty the trust out of spite. I emptied it out of accuracy. For the first time, the money reflected reality. They noticed within hours. Missed payments have a way of screaming. My father called first. Then my mother. Then my sister, voice sharp with confusion that quickly sharpened into accusation. I let the calls ring. The caregiver sent me photos of my baby sleeping safe. I stared at those instead. The hospital discharged me late afternoon. I went home sore, stitched, bandaged, changed by someone who wasn't related to me, but treated me with more care than my own blood had that morning. That's when the door slammed. My grandmother burst into my living room like a storm given bones. Hair pinned too tight, coat half buttoned, eyes blazing with something I hadn't seen in years. "They left you," she said, not asking, stating. I tried to stand. She waved me down and crossed the room in 3 strides, cupping my face with shaking hands. "I raised them better," she said. Her voice broke on the word better, or I thought I did. She turned then, slow and deliberate, toward my parents who had followed her inside. They looked smaller in my living room. Disoriented. Unprepared. "Do you know what he did?" My grandmother asked them. They started talking at once. Vacation plans. Miscommunication. Overreaction. The word family got thrown around like a shield. My grandmother lifted a finger. "Hey, almost died," she said. And you told him not to wait. Silence fell hard, then she looked at me. Really looked. The bandages, the brace, the way I was holding myself together with posture alone. You did the right thing, she said. About the money. My mother gasped. My sister laughed, sharp and disbelieving. What money? She asked. My grandmother smiled. It wasn't kind, the trust, she said. The one your brother has been quietly sustaining while you all lived like it was endless. My father's face drained. He looked at me like I was a stranger who had learned his secrets. You can't just, he began. I said. Calm even. My voice surprised them all. And I did. The confrontation wasn't loud. That was the most satisfying part. They tried guilt. They tried nostalgia. They tried anger. They tried legal threats until my grandmother reminded them who the original money came from, and who she'd be revising her will to favor if this continued. My sister cried first. Then my mother. My father went quiet. I didn't gloat. I didn't raise my voice. I explained boundaries like terms of service. Support would now be conditional. Transparent. Mutual. My child came first. Emergencies would be answered, or access would end entirely. You're punishing us, my mother said. No, I replied. I'm responding. There's a difference. One is emotional. The other is structural. They left eventually. Smaller than when they arrived, my grandmother stayed. She made soup. She rocked my baby. She told me stories about my grandfather I'd never heard. About how he'd built that trust because he'd seen how some people take and call it love. Before she left, she squeezed my hand. Quiet strength, she said. That's what lasts. Weeks later, my ribs healed. The calls slowed. The caregiver became a regular presence. The trust stopped hemorrhaging. My life became quieter, not easier, but mine. Sometimes my phone buzzes with a message from my mother that starts with, I just wanted to check in. Sometimes my sister sends photos, careful now. As if proximity might be negotiated back. I respond when I want to. I no longer confuse availability with obligation. The drunk driver took a moment from my life. My family's response gave me the rest of it back. And that, quietly, was the victory.